this evening, it's now our opportunity to listen to the first of our business hats. And the lady who's going to be wearing our first business hat this evening, she's come all the way from Halifax. And this lady, what she does not know about branding is not worth knowing, I promise you. So please, can you welcome to the stage Judith Wright from Right Angle Marketing.
This is not my microphone, by the way. Bingo prize. Bingo prize. So, I was a really interesting start. Judith Wright is my name, I best say that before I start. We were talking about whippets and I laughed because I pulled up in a car outside with 2 whippets. So I thought, does that mean I should have brought them in or I should have whipped them out? Closely followed by Martin deciding to mic me up in a position where he told me how to switch it on. I couldn't see my boobs, so that was really good. So I'm switched on, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous. So, I'm Judith Wright and I have worked in and around marketing and branding for probably more years than I care to remember, but probably about 27 years, which is really scary and makes you feel incredibly like you've been around the block a few times. However, it's something I'm very passionate about and I've really enjoyed working in. So today I'm just going to give you a little bit of an insight into brands and what it means and how we can make the most of them. So is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah? We all with me? Yep. I'm not sure what Martin's going to do with that, but there we go, that's interesting. So branding, how did it all start? I think that looks so barbaric. Like, is that really what people used to do? But of course it is. These days we do the equivalent of tattoos and things, don't we? But anyway. The farmer wanted to know which was his cow, and the other farmer wanted to know which was his cow. And so brands came about, and that's really the start of it. But as I'm in North Yorkshire, I thought I would share a picture with you for how they do it in North Yorkshire. And this is only 2 weeks ago. And I thought that seemed like a kinder alternative unless you were a boy. And then I thought that could be quite embarrassing. And actually I showed that picture to somebody who then said to me, is this the roadkill? Well actually it wasn't. It was just the sheep that happened to be at the bottom of the road. But yeah, so in North Yorkshire, that's what they do, and I think it's a kinder alternative than the red hot on your arms things. But what is a brand? So when you think about James Bond, what are the words that immediately come into your mind? Just yes, please. License to Kill?
Yeah,
Franchise? Is that what you said?
007. Miss Mummy Penny.
Miss Mummy Penny.
Martin Shaw.
Martin Shaw. Yeah. Very good, very good. So of course there's lots of things that come into our mind.
What's it go on?
Well, yeah. So there's lots of things that come into our mind. And actually that really is what a brand is about. It's not just a logo, which is what a lot of people tend to think that the brand is hung around, but it's actually all the things that occupy space in your mind. And that's really what a brand is all about. So I always say it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. So if I say to you Marks and Spencer's, what words come into your mind at that point?
Knickers.
Knickers?
Who's this? Marks and Spencer's?
Yes.
Refunds.
Tradition. Politics.
Posh.
Posh.
Expense.
Four.
Sex
Boring. What did you say?
Sexual adverts.
Sexual adverts. Just you. So then if we say the word little, what words come into your mind at that point?
Budget, value.
Budget, value.
Fast, value.
Fast. Any other words?
Cheap.
Cheap. Yeah, cheap. So they're all the perceptions that we hold, all those perceptions inside us, which all come from the actions that people take. But at the very start of the journey of any brand, whether it turns out to be a small brand, a large brand, or actually it falls over and never really gets going at all, usually what happens is a person who comes up with an idea. And that person is usually quite passionate about something, whether it's a product or a service or something they want to share with the world. But usually that person's got something that they want to share. And then they take some action and they create this thing that's going to grow legs, hopefully, and move from being an embryo into being a baby and hopefully become a teenager and an adult and maybe even a geriatric, although not everybody manages that whole journey. But usually what happens is, at the beginning, we really are our own brand. So we are our own personal brand. Whoever we stand up at in the world tends to be reflected in what we create. So certainly initially, most businesses start out from a creator who has got their own very strong, probably opinions, their values, their own beliefs, and they actually all sit into a brand. And that's what really forms it. They take some action and this little embryo starts to grow into a baby and go on its journey. But once it's on its journey, it is just literally a collection of perceptions. It's what you make of what you see. It's what you make of what you feel, what you smell, every sense that's involved that actually gives you the perception of what a brand is all about. So once we've created something, it's about actually really being consistent with what we do. I'm sure we've all seen great examples of brands that don't do this, and I certainly, in my 27 years, have seen major examples of this, where somebody creates something and then they bastardize it within minutes. So some designers spent a little while creating this thing called a logo, only to find it stretched over 3 pages and faces distorted and whatever else that we do. So the visual elements of a brand have to be used in a very consistent way. And that's actually how a brand becomes visually recognisable, by doing the same things in the same way over and over again. And I can't really stress how important enough that is. And it's a mistake that lots of people fall into the pitfall of actually just not doing it. And therefore it takes a lot longer for somebody to recognise them. And then the other thing that needs to be very consistent are the behaviours that we do. Because as we create our brand and it's moving through its babyhood and we're getting into our teenage years, there are expectations. And there are expectations about the way we behave, the way that we're seen. And one of my probably silly little anecdotal stories would be about when you go to first meet a new business, and you go in and you walk in and there's this lovely smell in the room, everything feels really nice, it's all really tidy, they've obviously made an effort ready to meet you. The coffee's on, the biscuits are out, you have a great meeting, you walk away and you're like, yes, I really want to work with that company. And you get a proposal, everything's really good, and then you go for your next meeting and you walk into the same room and there's no nice smell. There are no biscuits, and you've got instant coffee. So what do you then at that point think? Wow, they're really looking forward to working with me, isn't it amazing? No, you don't. You think, they haven't actually made an effort. And actually it's probably more about them than you. They were probably just busy that morning. But the problem is, that company, that brand, has set an expectation that you expect them to meet. And when they don't, you're incredibly disappointed. I remember I used to go to a shopping centre in Rochdale, God forbid, but I did. And there used to be a little business there who cleaned your car, cleaned it all out inside, got back in, it smelled lovely, it smelled like a new car. Same air freshener every time, and I loved it. And then I went one day, and I got in my car. I'm like, oh, Fred, what have you done? It's horrible. My car doesn't smell nice. I always come to you because I love how I feel. And he went, poof, far too expensive. Kicked that into touch about 3 weeks ago. We're not doing that anymore. And I went, what a shame, I won't be coming anymore. Because actually, that's why I came to you. Anyway, a month later when I turned up, he's like waving at me going, air fresheners, air fresheners. But you know, we all have expectations and they're based on the behaviours that we're shown. So in business, it's incredibly important that whatever you decide those behaviours are, you stick with them. Because if you don't, people will be incredibly disappointed. And also, it's worth noting that at every touch point that your brand associates with a would-be client or an actual client, does it actually reflect the values that you've got in place? Sometimes it's really good to kind of just do a bit of a mini audit and pretend like you've never met your business before and experience it as a customer does. See it through fresh eyes, walk into your office and see what it looks like. Does it say, I care about things? Is it tidy or untidy, papers everywhere? Ring your own answer machine. I remember doing this exercise with a group of about 10 business people, and we got them all to ring on speakerphone their answer machines. And there was one particular lady who her business was based upon positivity and energy and always delivering. And the answer machine message went, hello, sorry I'm not here, leave a message, bye. And it was like, what? That just doesn't add up, it doesn't match at all. And actually, even this weekend, I've just been up in Grange staying at my sister's, who moved up there fairly recently. My brother-in-law was telling me about, I hope there's nobody in the room who's an MD of Pickford's. It was telling me about his choice of who to use to remove all their furniture and things. And he said it was a really good professional service. They absolutely thought it was going to be fantastic. They did all of the sussing out. They used to send out a little man, and now they just use your phone and you film and they talk through what's in the room and everything else. And he said it was a great experience, really good at every point, until the removal men turned up. And he said he couldn't believe that these people who arrived on the drive were actually employed by the same company. A completely different experience. Nothing like the professional service that they'd had up to that point. I hope nobody recorded that and put it on social media. Oh, it's shocked. The disrespect to we have got wheat hearts in the room. So make sure that at every touch point you are reflecting the journey that you want your customer to be on. Lovely cupcake, cherry on top. That's the additional extra in the text. Carol! Hello! Did you just shoot me on the way in or? So, in a shopping centre, met by a wonderful counter of cupcakes, thinking, do I really need a cupcake? Probably not, but actually this one is very enticing. It's got a promise of lots of flavour, lots of texture, and that little cherry on top, and I do like a nice little cherry on top. So I bought it, and I took the paper off, and I was so excited to eat my plum cake. And do you know what? It was a dry bun. It was a complete disappointment. The inside did not match up to the outside at all. And that's what can happen in businesses if we don't think about every step of the process in creating our brands. So the cherry on top really is the promise, isn't it? It's the promise that we make to our customers. And the product or the service, whichever it is everything about that been thought through? Do we keep it consistent? Is it good at every stage? And our people, which become increasingly important the more we grow, because it's really easy to have really consistent values, really consistent behaviours when there's only one of you. The challenge comes when we need to duplicate that and share it with more people. So are our people bought into our vision? Do they share our values? Do they display our behaviours? Because once you become more than one of you, you have to duplicate that up so that everyone is actually really in line with where you want them to be. And then our processes, some of which we've already talked about. It can be as simple as, how do we greet people? How quickly do we respond to our emails? Do we say that we're a caring, people-centred organisation, but we don't answer our emails for a week? Because if we don't, it doesn't actually look like we really care. So it's really important that these 4 Ps are actually in place in your organisation, and that you actually think about them and review them. Because what happens is we get tied up in the day-to-day running, and we forget to take that step back and just have that little nosy back to see how we're delivering in those areas. And some people get it really right and they thrive, and some people don't do so very well. I think if you think about somebody like Virgin, I would say that probably in the main they deliver on the promise. It would appear that they have good products, they keep bringing out new ones, the people seem to be on board, and they seem to have really good processes in place and are thriving. Then you get somebody like W.H. Smith's, who about 3 weeks ago have been voted as the worst retailer on the UK high street. Why? Because the processes are all wrong. People walk in, they can't find anything, they don't like it. So if any one of those things fall over, it can cause incredible problems. So each of those P's is incredibly important to review, to improve, all of the time. Are we with it? Yes?
Yes.
Fabulous. So, what do brands do? Well, they engage with us at an emotional level. And people might not remember what you say, but they will always, always remember how you make them feel. You might go to a restaurant and the food is not quite as good as the one that's slightly nearer, but actually the people are really nice and you have a really good experience. So you think, do you know what, we'll go that extra half a mile down the road because I know I'm going to come away feeling really good. It's all about how we make people feel. Brands are very, very emotive creatures. How does your brand make people feel? I'm not going to ask you to share it, but I ask you that question to internalise and think about. And colour. Colour also produces feelings. This is a little bit touchy-feely for people. I'm not going to apologise because it is proven by research that colour does have an impact and does create feelings. So when we're thinking about the colours that we use, it's quite good to check in to find out what colour actually means and what kind of feelings it elicits. If you think about the red over here, it's kind of probably not surprising that you get somebody like Virgin, vibrant, dynamic, active, exciting, in that field. A lot of banks fall around the blue towards the navy because it's about trust, it's about loyalty, it's about order. A lot of eco companies are in that green box because it's about growth, clarity. So where does your brand fit? What kind of feelings are you eliciting by the colours that you're using? And remember, that's not just about the colours that are in your logo and anything else that's attached to that part of your brand, but it might be a campaign that you're going to do where you want to engender a specific response. You might want somebody to be getting excited and to actually take some action, in which case you might decide to use red buttons. So the colour is important. It's another factor to think about. So, some people also use slogans and straplines. These are more slogans, if we speak, than straplines. So have a break, have a what? Absolutely. Go to work on an egg. Something a day helps you work, rest and play. Full of Eastern promise. Finger licking good. I was so glad that Mario didn't answer that question.
Even my personal words to myself, thank you very much.
But again, you know, almost in a sense, when I look at things, these are kind of almost a bit yesteryear, in the sense that people don't always use things like this as often, but they actually do still work. But a lot of people now use music, they use jingles, they use something, so as soon as you hear it, you know what that is. So again, when you're thinking about your brand and how to use it, think about all of the senses. It's about sight, it's about smell, it's about sense, it's the visual, it's all of it together. So, talking of logos, I thought I would just share a few of these that said, what were they thinking? And actually, once you've seen these two dancers, I'm afraid once you've seen the boobs and the belly, you can't really get past that, can you? Or the state of Vermont, dispensing maple syrup. These are actual logos, I can just say, I haven't made them up. I did look on my maple syrup at breakfast, but it wasn't from Vermont, so I didn't have that to look at. You do really wonder what people are thinking, don't you? I'm never going to look at my dentist in the same light. And this, well, this is just, I mean, why was the, you know, why put those two words together? You just wouldn't, would you? So I just thought I would share those funnies when people really didn't think. But as it's a party, I believe that you've all got, have we, Martin? Pens. I think you've got a pen in your bag and you've got a piece of paper. So as soon as we're at a birthday party, let's have a little game. And I'm going to give you those 5 logos: Apple, Pringles, IKEA, Domino's Pizza and Starbucks. I'm going to ask you to just put your name in the top right corner and to draw those 5 logos. We're then going to swap them about and you're going to get scored. So, 5 minutes, a minute per logo.
Isn't that terrible? You wouldn't get people like that in a man cave doing it, would you? Which one do you want?
I can't draw full stop. Yes, the Mr. Pringle.
I had a problem with it.
It's his hair. What the hell is it? What's he got with his hair? Has he got there you go. Detail there. Just do a little face. Lots of hair.
IKEA should know I've been able to knock that. You can't go. It's Domino's. It's like a Domino's. It is, it's Domino's. It is actually Domino's. But is it 1 or 2? I think it's 2 crossing over, isn't it, Dominic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're on video.
Hey, come on. Let's see you do a dance.
No.
So my body's going like this, and my head met her back and went backwards. So I feel like I got whiplash. But it was so ridiculous. I don't know if that was in Katira.
Yeah, I think I've got that right.
Okay, want to pass your papers? Swap with somebody else? Okay, have we all got our own papers back? Yeah, we're just waiting for over there. Yeah, are we okay? Are we all back in the room? Have we all got our own papers back? Yes or no? Yeah? Fabulous. So interestingly, 150 people were given these logos to look at. The interesting thing about this for me is that all of these companies will spend absolutely thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on advertising. We will all have seen these logos at some point in time. But even with all of that, I'm sure that some of you, when you look down at your piece of paper, don't think it actually probably looks too similar to some of those logos. So all of the things that we talked about earlier, in terms of being consistent, in terms of creating consistent experiences, consistent visuals, this is the proof of why you need to do that. Because even these big boys with very big budgets may not be so easy to actually even tell you what their logo looks like. So on the Apple logo, about 22% of people put the bite on the left, and about 25% of people forgot that there was actually a bite there at all, and about 16% of people forgot that there was the little leaf on top. So even a logo which is as simple as that can take some remembering in terms of the detail. I think the biggest thing that went wrong for Domino's was the apostrophe. 55% of people didn't even recognise an apostrophe. And I think with IKEA, the biggest thing was that whilst people got the oval, they forgot it always sat in a square, in a rectangle. I nearly said a square. And I think I don't know about the Pringles one actually, but the Starbucks logo, a lot of people went for the very old logo that had the writing around the edges. I don't know if any of you did. Did any of you? You did too? And the other two things that people forgot the most was that she wore a crown and that the mermaid had tails. So there you go. So whatever you did, you weren't alone. So put your hand up if anybody got 50 points. In fact, stand up. Do you just want to all stand up for me? No, you can all stand up. No, all stand up anyway. Do you want to stand up, please? I just asked if you could stand up. Yeah, everyone. So at the point when I do the countdown, if we go past where you were, we'll sit down. So 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40. Oh, it's getting lower. 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30. 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. Oh, we have a winner. There you go. Would you like to come and collect your prize? This was my microphone when I came on stage. There we go. Thank you. Carol will now wish it was Sauvignon. I brought Chardonnay, but there you go. So no matter how much money we spend, the point is it's not that easy to remember. So consistency in everything is key. The other thing to think about with brands is that they constantly change and develop. They don't necessarily stand still. So in 1976, when the first logo for Apple came out, I have to say, when I looked at that, I really was like, I have no idea what that is. I have no idea that I would ever remember it. So I can see why it's easier to remember now in the 2019. But actually, the original logo was Newton sat under the apple tree. So that is what the connection is. But brands develop, they change over time, and it's possible to build even through the logo and modernise and change and keep fresh and up to date without losing the core, Freudian slip there, the core of what we're talking about. Airbnb started in 2007 and they updated their logo in 2009 and again in 2014. But if you actually look at the progress of their website, it looks like it's a completely different company every single year. But they've kept the Airbnb tight within all the other changes that they're making. So we can reinvent, we can grow, and we expect brands to do that. But where possible, it's good to keep a thread, because otherwise you lose people, and then you're constantly trying to make up ground in terms of recognition. So some key messages there for leaving you with. It doesn't matter whether it's you as Billy No Mates on a personal brand journey, whether it's a multinational company that you're working on, but the principles and the processes are exactly the same. It's a very simple process. And as we've just talked about, every successful brand has got that evolutionary nature within it. Your brand actually can live or die by the care that you put into it. We talked about the promise, the cherry on top. What is it you're saying you are going to deliver? We also talked about making sure that everything to do with your product and service is good, consistent, and the best that you can make it. The people, are they on side? Do they share your values? Do they know the vision of the company? Do they know where they're going? Are they with you? Are they singing from the same hymn sheet? And the process that you use to deliver it, is that good? Could it be better? Is it world class? Do you constantly ask for ways for how you can improve it? Because if you look at it as if it's already as good as it can be, it will never get better. You need to ask those questions. How can I make this better? Ask for feedback. Ask your customers. Don't sit down if it's a service business with your customers and say, is everything all right? Say, how can we do what we do even better than we do it right now? Because that's the feedback that will give you that make the difference between an okay brand and a good brand. A brand is a story that's always been told. So I would leave you with, what's your story? How do you articulate your brand? And how can you make it even better? Thank you for listening. Bye.